present father is the one who, this is the bit I was just kind of finishing off, which is if you look at the Prophet ﷺ
Yeah.
and his model of basically parenting, of fatherhood, is that he was present. And we take the examples that he had, and
Yeah.
that means when you're present, that means if you look at mind, body, and soul, yeah, that's the easiest way to look at it, mind, body. That means when you're with your child, you're being attentive. So that means all of the basic things, which is you actually listen to your child. So when we talk about listening, sometimes we think, yeah, I listen to my children. Sometimes you should pause and say, actually, are you really listening to what they are saying? And so it's listening, it's speaking as well, in the way you're speaking to your child, engaging. For example, you might say, when was the last time you spoke to your child? Because, yeah, I speak to them every day.
Yeah.
But if you say, okay, let's break that down and say, you're speaking to your child, how much of the conversation of your child rotates around instructions or discipline? Yeah. So you take that away now and say, okay, when I spoke to my child today, I told him, get ready, wake up for school, do this, don't do that. They're instructions. Now, if you take them all away, then you look at the percentage in your day. How much of it is actual true conversation? Are you sat with your child and you just had a conversation? You spoke.
Okay.
So when we talk about speaking and listening, this is what we're referring to. That, that's the presence that is very much being missed. And when the father's presence is missed, it's something that happens slowly over time.
Okay.
Fathers don't lose their children suddenly; they lose them slowly,
Yeah.
and that's the key kind of focus point that we can take on as a phrase almost that helps you understand a bit more about when a father is absent, isn't present, then what's the impact of it.
Yeah, yeah. And what is the impact of him not being there? What kind of impact has it got on a child's mental well-being, emotional well-being, and physical well-being? By
Yeah. So when a child isn't present, when a father isn't present,
yeah,
if you look at the father's role, if you look at the maternal role is that they carry the child,
yeah,
they raise the child, and they provide them with the aspects that's required in this child's development in the stages. So again, that nursing stage, that feeding, that weaning, all of those aspects, and then a mother would also take care of those basic needs of feeding, of clothing, of bathing, and all of those things. These were a traditional kind of set. And if you look at then, what does a man play traditionally in
yeah,
a role of a child? Was that tarbiyah. And when we look at the essence of what do we understand, what does it mean about tarbiyah? Tarbiyah means that if you take the example of like more of a gardening perspective, that it's when you plant a seed, is that all we do from a gardening perspective? If you want to grow something, you just plant the seed and you leave it and you go. Yeah. Now the chance of us we planting that seed is if we leave it and don't do anything else,
yeah,
then yeah, most likely some shoots may appear. It may grow in a certain way, because the sun is over here, it may pull in that direction.
yeah,
Weeds may come about, or sometimes you may be lucky and it grows into a lovely tree and it bears fruits. But the reality is when you are planting that seed, you have to give everything around it the right conditions for it to grow into that tree to give and bear those fruits.
yeah,
So when we look at that means tending to it. That means nurturing it. That means protecting it, keeping maybe slugs and insects and other things away from it, taking the weeds out from it, giving it food, giving it water, then enough sunlight. If it starts growing, it needs a bit of structure and stability so the wind doesn't blow it left and right, and you provide the structure around it till it grows. That is the role of a father. And you are there to say that my goal is to raise this child so it becomes fully grown adult. And in our perspective, obviously, we want it to be a righteous child, the one that is, again, worshipping Allah, strong. And for us to be able to get our child to get there, we have to then provide all of those things around it. Now, just as a father, we can't say, okay, I did my job, my child is raised, and my wife is doing everything else, and that's enough.
yeah,
No, you have to play a physical, you have to be present and there. And the problem we're having is in today's society,
yeah,
what we're seeing now is a different terrain in how children are being raised. And because the terrain has changed from the generations of when I grew up and you grew up and the generations before, we have to adapt the way we are going about in our parenting. Now, the reality is there's this old proverb, I'm sure you've heard before, it takes a village to raise a child.
yeah, yeah,
And if you look at it traditionally throughout humankind, we were raised in tribes. Yeah, we were raised in villages. This is the nature of how we've been raised. And this is the sunnah of mankind.
yeah,
We're raised like that. That means when a child is born, he's not born just within a family, he's born within a community. And there's a community around him that raises and looks after the child. Now we said, okay, we're Bangladeshi, we go back home, for example, you see it. Families grow up together. In that child's life, there are multiple adults that are in that child's life. that are there providing that support and growing.
Yeah.
What we've got now living in the Western world is this individualism, where now communities have broken up and families have broken up.
Mm.
And now what happens in the child's life, he has two adults in his life, not multiple. And sometimes there's even one in
Yeah.
those families where you've got a single parent. Now what you're seeing is that child isn't listening, is being rebellious, is because the children need a lot more support around them in order for them to be able to grow. And you've seen that in the village concept. If the father tells the child off, the child is not happy with the father.
Yes.
So who did the child go to? It should be to another adult.
Yeah.
But what happens is if that adult structure isn't there, then who do they go to? They go to their peers. And the peers are going to say, what? Ban your dad. Forget him. And are they going to give the right sort of advice that you need to hear? No. So what's happening is around our community, that village is gone. So now if that village is gone, there's two key problems we're facing. One is that child has not got enough adults around them in their life. That means we have to actively work towards recreating a village in our society, in our context. And secondly, is that means that the traditional approaches that worked for us maybe in the past have to change.
Okay.
And they have to be different now. Otherwise, it's not going to yield the same results. So we
Like,
have a lot of fathers who say to me, I grew up, I
can I
was
stop you
fine,
on
my
that
dad
point?
didn't.
Like, what would a tribe look like now? So when you've mentioned change, what sort of change? Can you give an example of like changes? What we have to do now? Because the traditional methods may not work now. So how would we build a tribe in this modern day Asian society? By
Yeah. So there's for anybody who's obviously watching and who likes to read, there's a book called Toxic Childhood. Yeah, and it's done by Sue Palmer.
okay.
It's somewhere on my shelf behind me. The
Yeah.
book is there. But she does a good analysis and she breaks it down even in the Western world. Forget kind of the Asian Muslim subcontinent or other areas of the world. Even in the West,
Yeah.
the
Right.
concept of village existed even here in the West, which was you had the old, even when I grew up, I remember this concept existed. Like in a community, you had, for example, a child growing up. So if you look at the Western world, you had a child growing up, you had a mother and a father. The family were nearby, so you had that. You had neighbors. Neighbors looked out for the children. Even when I remember growing up, we had our neighbors, our next door Sasa and Sasi.
Yeah.
You have to make sure they'll keep an eye on you. You had this concept.
Yeah.
You would have your teachers would live local, so they'll see you. You go to a local librarian, the local butcher shop.
Yeah.
All of there's many, many people. You had a Bobby on the beat. Yeah, he was familiar to the area, so each officer actually knew all of the children in the area.
Yeah.
Even those who were, for example, Christians, their local priests, they were known to them. So there's multiple adults around that child to preserve them. So what's happened is all of that is broken away
Yeah.
with the whole capitalization and everything moving towards breaking down of communities. So now those local corner shops are replaced by Tesco's, and they've got staff who are from elsewhere. And local, all of these aspects of local communities are broken up. So therefore, you've lost all of it. So now, when we look at it from just society, it's totally lost. Now we're coming from a faith-based and maybe a cultural background as well.
Yeah.
How do you rebuild that?
Yeah.
It means we as parents have to actively go out and be within our communities, and within our communities see other like-minded fathers and mothers that within the communities that we do have and families, and we need to connect with those families. Because if now, for example, in my community, I go to my local masjid.
Wow.
I'm in the mosque. Mosque is a good starting point.
Wow.
In that mosque, I have now other parents who are in the mosque.
Yeah.
And as you remember, not everybody you meet is going to be the same.
Yep.
Yeah. So what you want to say is, I hold certain values. So in the mosque, if you're engaging with the community, you're going to come across, mashallah, brother Mahbub, you're a brother in my local masjid.
Yeah.
We're very similar in our thinking. We want to raise our children. Okay, we're friends. So then what happens is if we spend time together, and then we bring our families together, our children are going to be being raised with one another.
Okay.
Likewise, we start bringing more and more and more like this. Say you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 families. Now you've got 8 fathers that come together, like-minded. Their mothers will come together, inshallah, like-minded. The children will grow up with friends around them. Now what happens is, my son's walking down the street, Brother Mahbub, you see my son, and just say he's up to no good. He's doing something he shouldn't be doing. Then you can say, what are you doing? Almost like I can expect you have an authority over my son. That, almost like you come over, you can tell him off. What are you doing? I'm not going to tell your dad. And that becomes another means of keeping a child upright, because they need to know that there are people out there keeping an eye on them. Also, alternatively, it could be that now, I don't know, maybe me and my son had a bit of I told him off. He's very upset with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or he did something wrong. I told him off. He's upset. okay, he goes to the masjid to salah, he sees you, Mahbub, and then Mahbub, you say to him, nephew, what's wrong? You seem a bit sad. He might have a conversation with you.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
might say, oh, my dad said this and that. Now you're going to know, obviously, we're of a similar value in the families.
yeah,
So you're going to find out what is dad upset about. Maybe, I don't know, maybe my son, I don't know, he missed his salah or something, as an example. Yeah, he
yeah.
wasn't very conscious of salah and he missed it. And so you're going to advise him in what way? You're going to say to him, okay, you can understand why, and you can still resonate with him, but you'll be able to reinforce that message from a different voice. Whereas if he goes off to his friend, he's going to say, your dad's too strict, man. He's going to say, your dad's too strict. Don't worry, you're young. And
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he's going to get a wrong message from his peers. Whereas if he's now with other adults, he'll be able to get some reinforcement. Additionally,
Mm.
if his peers now we've created are the same children that are from your family and
Yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
his family, then maybe they may also be able to reinforce that positive news, which is, "Oh, it's really important. You miss Salah. You understand why your dad's angry, isn't it?" And
Wait,
so all of those things start community.
could I ask you something around that? That is profound what you have just said there, because it actually goes more than just the family unit in itself. It escalates to the broader community. So what's intriguing is, bro, how did we even get to that place from once upon a time that we had that set up there to now? We don't even have that anymore. It's everyone's all isolated and like the community is not coming together. How did we even get to this stage where it is now, bro?
We got to this stage, living here in the West, we got to this stage because of the way the society has been pushed. And it is designed, the capitalism, the secular society that we live in,
Yeah,
pushes individualism.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah? And it pushes this whole thing off
yeah.
that you are making your nafs, your desire, your Lord.
Mm.
Yeah? So everything is about me, myself, and I.
And
So
yeah.
even if you look at it now, everything's pushed towards that me. And even now you're seeing that meanness within a family. A family that should be we is also me, and me.
Yeah,
Always about looking out for my interest. So then you start seeing a husband and wife saying me and me. Because the whole concept is about my rights, my rights. But our deen teaches us fulfill your responsibilities. Because if me as a husband, I fulfill my responsibility to my wife, then my wife gets her rights.
yeah,
And if my wife fulfills her responsibilities towards me, her husband, then I get my rights. And if me as as a parent, a father, fulfills my responsibilities to my children get their rights. And if
mm,
the child fulfills their responsibility towards their parents, then their rights are being fulfilled. So this is the problem. The society pushes individualism.
yeah,
And this is the nature of living in the Western world, of this secular, democratic, capitalistic society, is very much like that. That's why you're seeing even the values that did once upon a time exist
yeah,
within the non-Muslim class, people within, for example, the UK, has also basically eroded. And now we're seeing the youth on the streets. What are they getting up to? The breakdown in the families, the antisocial behavior, the crime, the drugs, the you know the rise of feminism, and then the opposite side of the manosphere, and all of these extremes that are coming. Well, our deen has taught us the balance in the middle,
yeah.
and that is what's been lost.
Bridge that gap. Now we know what to do, but why aren't we doing it? Or what's happening now, bro? What do you see according to your own
So one
understanding?
aspect is, yeah. So there's two key points here. One is you looking to build a community as a parent, as a
Yeah,
father, trying to build that community. So that means you have to actively go out and do those actions.
yeah,
I'm sure all of us have got similar concerns,
yeah,
and there are many fathers out there, and I'm sure a lot of us have had those conversations. We have got our friends we do know
yeah,
who are on similar kind of thinking and understanding. So it just takes that proactive step. Now, if you don't live within the same community, i.e., literally, I don't live on the same street as say some of my friends,
yeah,
still not a problem. You can still build that community, meaning you just have to actively go out and do things.
yeah,
Whereas if my friend lives, I live here, and my friend is 10 minutes away, and there's another one who's 15 and 20 minutes away,
yeah,
we can still actively go out and ensure our families are basically intermingling and staying and being together.
yeah,
That friendships doesn't necessarily mean it has to be your next door neighbor or the person down the street. That the child, if they spend enough time with a person, they
yeah,
become friends with them. So from that younger age, by us putting our children together, we can create those obviously communities. So that's one aspect. But the second thing is that's an external factor that does rely on other people willing to do the same thing. So I
yeah,
get it. Sometimes you may find barriers and blockages, but you
yeah,
still strive and you work towards that.
yeah,
But the most important thing is, okay, me as a father, how can I be more present within my home in order to combat some of these things, even if I can't build that community
yeah,
around that I want to build, that village that I want to build.
yeah,
Now that means, okay, me as a father, I got to look at things a bit differently. it's no longer that my wife will raise our children and everything's going to be fine. I have to be present. I have to be there. And that means also changing the approach that we may have learned from our fathers in the way the parenting has happened. Now, I look back at when I was a child and my father's passed away.
Yeah.
And when I look back at him and the way he had parented, he did the best he could.
Yeah.
He did the best he could.
Yeah.
Yeah? With the resources he had and everything that knowledge he had, he did the best he could.
Yeah.
But naturally, even as a child, I would read the seerah of the Prophet ﷺ, and in reading that, I would then clearly see that the Prophet ﷺ was obviously the best of creation, and his approach in the way he had spoke to people and dealt with people clearly was different. And in my mind, it was clear that there is a different way, there is a different approach. Now, what happens in most parenting is that we actually, by default, parent the way we were parented.
Yeah.
It's just a natural psychological thing.
Yeah.
We go into a default. And what happens is sometimes that parenting was a good parenting that we received, and other times it wasn't a very good parenting. And if we're not careful, we will then pass on to our children the negative aspects of that. And so what it takes from us as parents is to actually actively pause, to think, and just to relook and say, okay, how was I raised? What was good about it? And what was not so good? What wasn't so good, I'm going to actively say, I'm not going to do this.
Yeah.
And what was good, I'll do. And then if I'm not going to do the things that weren't good, what can I do instead? And so that means that now what you're doing, you're breaking that generational cycle. So my dad parented me the way he knew how. And the way he knew how is how he was parented.
Yes.
And how my grandfather parented is the way he knew how, and that's the way he was parented. And as I said, we're living in a different society now. We're not I'm not in Bangladesh, where my parents were from. I'm in the UK as a second generation immigrant. And so therefore a minority in the West. And we're having this culture clash of me being a Muslim, first and foremost, a Bangladeshi ethnically, but living in Britain, being British. So then what does that mean? What does that look like? And so that means the flavor of our lifestyle is different to, I'm not British white, nor am I Bangladeshi Bengali. I'm this hybrid in between. That means the way I now have to engage with my family and basically break those previous negative cycles takes active action, basically thinking and real effort. And so that means before, our parents dictated respect, isn't it? I'm your father, do as I told, almost like that's it. And we may do that to our child. I'm your dad, listen. Now that can cut it for a while in this day and age. That can cut it for a while, and that only cuts it from the moment your child is afraid of you, i.e. you hold power over him. But what happens with your child is, guess what? They're growing up. Then they get to a certain age, and that's usually in the teens. But guess what? Power dynamics are quite equal now. He can turn around and say, no, what are you going to do? And in many cases, when I've spoken to parents, that child can get physically violent towards you. That's what you're seeing now. So then what? Before, maybe in generational past, there was physical chastisement, and you can smack him. You can't smack your child now. What are you going to do? So, if you're looking at it, okay, how am I now going to get my child to actually listen and respect me? That's why you realize that the reality is respect without connection with your child, it doesn't work anymore. Before you could. Before generations, it worked. Right now, you need the connection. And that's one of the things I do a lot of in the work that I do is I relate it back to the Prophet ﷺ. I show the examples that he built connection with children. And because of that connection, the trust is there, the respect is there. I'll give you a beautiful hadith.
So, when there's a couple of things that I want to pull you up on. Okay, so one of them was this. Say I'm a new father, for example. I have no idea about raising kids, nor does my people around me. They don't have that level of awareness that we do, and they go through the momentum. They're figuring things out along the way, and all of a sudden that their child grows up to a stage where you have said now it can also turn quite violent if there's no connection. How do we bridge the gap in terms of getting that knowledge before we even have children? Where do we go? What are the steps? Who do we turn to? That's one. And then secondly, when we lose that type of power, say for example, and there comes a certain age now that they can now challenge us, it's as if that they're equal. How do we remedy that, bro?
Yeah. So in terms of, you're right, in terms of resources out there, what exists, like if you look at work-wise, there is every single job out there in the world that exists. There's some qualifications you need for it, or some
Yeah, yeah,
experience you need for it.
yeah,
There's some training you can get for it.
yeah,
Even if as a basic you might be on the lowest end of most job spectrum, just say like a cleaner. You don't need a
yeah,
qualification, you don't even need experience, but you're
yeah,
gonna have some training.
yeah.
These are chemicals, these are liquids that you can't use, blah blah blah.
Mm.
But the hardest job in the world, everybody knows, is to be a parent, is to raise children.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's the one job, there is no qualification needed. It just happens
yeah,
physically, naturally.
yeah,
And that's one of the reasons why I focused a lot on setting up Involved Fathers as a resource that I can say, okay, for anybody who's listening out there, if you need help, if you need support, then yes,
mm.
like organization like myself, I have set up to focus on supporting fathers and his mothers broadly as well,
Yeah,
on practical ways of how you raise a child. What are the things to think about? And in fact, like I said to you right at the beginning, that I've got a book coming out that it released on the 1st of June. It's called A Father's Present, 7 Steps to Raising Children Who Trust and Turn to You.
yeah.
It actually covers from even before marriage up until your child is an adult.
Amazing.
It covers that space. So it's actually a book for all of those periods. So if you're a father who hasn't started yet, who maybe looking to get married or maybe
Yeah,
has got married and looking to have kids, you can really pick up. There are resources out there. So you can get that from Involved Fathers. My website is
yeah,
there, involvedfathers.com. But there's also obviously, alhamdulillah, I'm seeing now of a lot of new initiatives also raising. Just like even the work you're doing with the Father and Son
mm.
podcast, again, trying to raise awareness,
Yeah,
provide
yeah,
knowledge and guidance. Alhamdulillah, I'm seeing a lot more of it now because
mm.
there are many other fathers out there saying, hang on a minute, we need to do more.
Yeah,
How
yeah,
can we provide? So, inshallah, you can find those resources. Yeah, they are becoming more and more accessible and easier to
yeah,
find. Obviously, we still need a lot more of it, but
yeah,
nevertheless, things do exist. Now, come to your second point, which is if a child's now reached, say, those teen years, and now we're at loggerheads,
yeah,
and I've missed all those years beforehand to really build that connection,
yeah,
what can I do? I still say it's not too late. But what it does require is a lot of hard work from you as a parent.
yeah,
And sometimes we might think, well, I'm the dad, I'm the parent, my child
yeah,
should just listen to me. But you have to realize that if a relationship is broken, you will have to, if you want to fix it, you're going to have to put the effort in.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like you're going to a doctor and saying, I got an ailment, give me some medication, and then that's it, it's going to heal my pain.
yeah,
It takes effort. And that's the bit where you have to be willing to put that in. And sometimes that means a bit of compromise from your side.
yeah,
Compromise not on the values, but maybe you would have liked it like this ideally, but okay, I might have to make a few steps forward. But you have
mm.
to make that happen. Now, give you an example.
Yeah,
The relationship between you and your child is like a piece of cloth. It's intertwined, you're one.
yeah,
Imagine that piece of cloth, or even like if I get a piece of paper out here as a cloth. Now, that's you, you're solid, you're firm, you're together. But now, what happens is with every interaction with your child, if it's negative, it creates a tear.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
With every engagement you have with the child, guess what? It pulls more.
yeah,
It
yeah,
pulls more. It pulls more. And now you're here. So what does that mean? When that happens, when you have separated, it takes active work for you to be able to pull that back together again. You can do it, but it's hard work. And that's the relationship.
yeah.
When that relationship is gone now you tell your child, do something, he ain't going to do it.
Right,
But when you're
okay,
still
okay.
attached, you can.
Right, in regards to that point that you said, is it a two-way thing, or does it fall on the father to do majority of the work, or like what does that look like, bro?
The reality is, yes, any relationship requires two ways.
Yeah.
But when you're looking at a child hasn't even fully developed yet.
Mm.
Yeah, their brain hasn't developed.
Yeah.
The emotional development. They're the teenagers' years. They're everywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, if you set an expectation, your child will have to also. It's going to be very, very difficult. If you want to bridge that, you're going to have to make them first. You will have to make the first step. If
Okay.
you are like this right now, as I mentioned, if you are in this situation,
Yeah.
you're going to have to make the first step. There's no way around it. You sit there and expect a child to come to you, they're not going to come to
It's
you.
not happening. Yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
happening. And that's what I'm saying here. Not because I'm trying to now make it like, oh wow, the child is more powerful than you.
No, no, I
No, it's like
understand.
any relationship. Like, if you look at
Yeah.
it, me and you, Mahbub, we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And over time, something's happened and we've just really just total opposite ends now.
Yeah.
Now, if we want to repair that relationship, what's going to take? It's going to take somebody to take the step forward. Somebody's going to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
When you take that step forward, you start lowering those barriers that exist between you.
Yeah.
Slowly, slowly, slowly. But it takes time, repetition. And what I do say is this with a father is if he realizes that, look, my son has, look, in a relationship when it breaks down, two parties are at play. Yeah. Both have done something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what you're going to say is, okay, I can see my son spoke rude to me. He didn't listen to me. He doesn't follow my rules. He doesn't. There may be a list of things your son doesn't do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you are valid in those reasons, whatever they may be. But then I'm sure in that process, there are things you made mistakes in.
Yes.
In the way you said things, the way you did things. So what you can at least say is, I'm not saying you're just now going to say whatever your son did was fine. No, 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 we're not saying that. We're
Yeah.
saying, look at what I made my mistakes in and say, okay, let me recognize. So I go to my son, I say to my son, when things are calm, that look, I've been reflecting. It takes a lot of honesty. I've been reflecting. And in the reflection, I've realized, you know something? I've been very harsh. I've said things in ways I shouldn't have said things. I've let my anger get the better of me. I've said, whatever it may be, all of those things, you're going to reflect on what's actually happened. I shouldn't have behaved like this. Yeah.
Yeah.
What I want from you is, what you can say is that what I'm going to do, I made a promise to myself that actively I don't want to be like that and I don't want to do that again. And I will put all my effort in not to behave and react like that.
Yeah.
Yeah? And to say, look, I know that maybe I've said a lot and I've hurt you a lot.
Yeah.
I want to try for us to mend and rebuild and start again.
Yeah.
You say that, your child might just say whatever and go.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you planted the seed. He's listened, he's heard,
Yeah.
and he can see because children see sincerity. If they see, okay, my dad actually is trying, what's going to happen is going to soften him a bit more. Yeah. And what you're doing is, again, another few soft occasions of interactions,
Yeah.
slowly, 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 that ice that has built up will start to thaw away. And then you'll be able to reconnect. If you say from that beginning, I said sorry to him, why isn't he being okay with me again? It's not going to work. It takes time because when people have hardened and the relationship is really broken, it takes time to re-heal, to reseal, to become reconnect. And that's where a lot of parents give up on. And so it's
But
never too late.
hold that thought right there. Okay, so for example, let's say that I have problems regulating my emotions, but I want a good relationship. I want to do all of those things that you've said, right? And the thing is, the the additional things, I don't know how to regulate myself, bro. I'm all over the place. I say one thing and I do the opposite because I'm always in constant reactionary mode. What do I do in them kind of situations, bro? Like, yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of it is again, it goes back to you looking at yourself. You know
yeah,
what your triggers are. You know what pushes your buttons. Yeah.
yeah,
One of the most important things for you to do is just like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ.
yeah.
Please say, when you get angry, if you are standing, what do you do?
Sit down.
Sit down.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're sitting, do what? Lie down.
Lie down. Yeah,
Lying down, do what? Go make wudu.
yeah,
Yeah. This is an important point. Change your position. If now you've walked into a situation
yeah,
and your son or your child is just poking you and you just can feel it,
yeah.
walk away. Walk away. Walk out of the room. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Walk out of the room, calm yourself down, let
Yeah,
you breathe. What you're trying to do is get yourself into control. Because what you want to do is it's like hitting the pause button. Imagine you're watching something and you press
yeah,
pause. Pause yourself. Go away, regain your composure and your strength,
yeah,
and think. Because when you are elevated, you're literally angry.
yeah,
You're going
yeah.
to say and do anything. Yeah. And you may regret it later. So before that happens, calm yourself.
My,
Once you do that, then you walk back in because then what happens is then you are acting and not reacting. You thought it through. Well, that's what it becomes. It becomes that. The other thing is,
yeah, my,
if you really struggle with that, managing that, then guess what? Like your background shows, okay, they need to
yeah,
go to the gym. You've got to
yeah, yeah,
burn it out because you know something. The energy is there. You need to release that.
release it.
That means go to a box, gym,
Yeah,
run. Yeah, you need to let that out because the reality is there are things inside you that's building you up. Now,
mm,
what's difficult is a father might go to work all day
yeah,
and
yeah,
he might get all that work stress and he comes home and without realizing he releases that onto his family. And they've done nothing wrong. It's not their fault that he has stress at work.
yeah,
So if that's difficult for you from work, then say, just something after work, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to go straight to the gym. I'm going
yeah,
to go for a run. I'm going to do means to calm myself down. Imagine you can't do all of those things. Okay, hey, what I'm going to do, if I drove home, I'm going to sit in my car for 5 minutes.
yeah,
Just breathe and calm myself down. The work stuff, trying to put it away from my mind. And just imagine when I walk through my door, when you got young kids, especially young kids,
yeah,
I
yeah,
remember I used to walk home because I got 6 kids and they were all so
yeah,
close together.
yeah, yeah, bro.
They're running, dad, 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 they're
Yeah, yeah,
jumping.
yeah,
So I'm just imagining they're all going to come for my attention. And I need to give them the attention and the time. And they're all happy to see me. I need to be happy to see them. They need to see that God's happy to see me. So put yourself in that frame of mind and then walk in the door. Yeah. Meaning do those things, breathe, step out. Now imagine you did all of that and now you're getting worked up a bit. You're gonna say, okay, kids, just can you give me 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. Maybe step outside. Or
yeah,
maybe even go to your room, close the door. Okay, recontrol yourself, regain yourself,
yeah,
come back in again. Now, when you start doing that more, it makes active. It takes active control, active effort. And the
yeah,
more you start doing it, you get better at it.
yeah,
And eventually, guess what? You don't even have to physically remove yourself from the room. You could just sit there and breathe and say, okay, let me get back in the zone. Okay, back in the zone and get back
yeah,
into
yeah,
it. But it's a case of change your position. And also the second thing is Just mentally think and calm down and breathe. Thirdly is a lot of the times, you know what it is, because we're men, men are filled with energy.
Yeah, yeah,
They have to expel that. You're going to see that. You got boys.
yeah, yeah,
Boys are filled, they're brimming with energy. They
yeah,
need to burn the energy off. And so similarly with us, if we're filled with it, and our testosterone's high and we've got a lot of anger related things, burn it off elsewhere. Don't release it in your family. It's not their fault a lot of the times, and it's not worth it. And the damage you do to them is harder to repair. So before having to repair, don't do the damage in the first place. Let it out somewhere else. If you're really frustrated and worked up, go boxing. Just let it out. You know, that's the better way of doing it.
But you see, in addition to what you said, okay, let's say it's crossed that line. It's crossed that line where I've just had an explosive argument with my son. It got quite, the situation escalated. Okay, what do I do in those types of situations when it's been the relationship has been up and down, and it's gone to a stage where we're just both explosive? How do I mend that type of relationship? Where do I even start? Because if I know, you know what, I'm gonna put myself in this situation, I'm gonna argue like this, like I know myself very, very well, but sometimes I can't help it. And then we've gone our own separate ways now, and that's where the relationship is at. There's a disconnection. But how do I get back that connection again? What are the steps that I need to do? Say, for example, from the position where I've flopped, say I've flopped, I've just lost my rag. That is it. You know,
Yeah. So
what do
you
I do
flop.
from that?
It happens to everybody. Yeah? And I think one of the things I just want to make sure is also clear is when
Yeah,
I'm
but
speaking, by all means, I'm not saying that I never get angry.
yeah,
I
yeah,
don't do this because everybody, like
yeah,
literally, we all
yeah,
have
man.
it. It's,
Yeah,
it's, it's just how life is. Now, in that situation, like even if I look at my examples, when I've tried to hold it down and that's it, it's just gone and I've lost it
yeah,
and I've said things and whatnot. The most important thing is one is you got to calm yourself down.
yeah,
Yeah. So find your means to calm yourself down. Yeah. Get back in control because you know when your emotions high and if your child's emotions are high, you cannot have a conversation. You
yeah,
both have to be emotions are in control, regulated again. That
yeah,
means whatever it requires. That means you're so worked up, go outside, go for a run, whatever it may be. Just you're in control. Now, once you're in control, just think, okay, what have I said? What have I done? A lot
yeah,
of the times, maybe there's going to be regret. There usually tends to be regret. Like I said things a bit too harsh. I shouldn't have
yeah,
done that. Once you've got that, now is you, Dad. Yes, it's going to have to be you. Have to go to your son and then say to him, son, I'm sorry the way I spoke to you. Yeah, it's a hard thing to do because dads think that, how can I say sorry? But actually, if you don't say sorry, you're not teaching something. Look, we're as human beings, we make mistakes. We all, and we
yeah,
expect our children to say sorry, and we can't say sorry. We made a mistake. The child can see, especially if they become an adult child. Because once
yeah,
they get teased, they're an adult child, as far as
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
concerned.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Now, if you see that, then that means you're going to have to go back and say, okay, I'm sorry. The way I spoke was out of line. Yeah. Don't throw ifs and but you did this. No, it's
yeah,
confrontation again. Just say the way I spoke is bang out of line. Yeah. And basically you apologize for all of that. And if you sit in the room in silence in that moment, if your son can see you are being sincere and apologizing, there's a
yeah,
good chance he will also come back and say, you know something, I also wasn't right in the way I said things. You do that now, you've got a entry point to say, okay, I'm gonna be able to start to reconnect and say, all right, what happened before?
yeah,
Yeah. Why did you, I want to understand. Why did you behave like this? Just say it's a behavioral issue or something. Yeah. Look,
yeah,
just I want to better understand. Tell me. So he tells you. Then you can say, look, I reacted like this because I felt this. And you can start having that conversation. Now, that's one way. Another way is you say sorry, your son doesn't say anything. He's trying to be thinking, okay, fine. You've done your bit, you go away. But you still talk and you try and engage. The key thing here is, if you and your child have had numerous occasions like this, and your opposite ends, now you're saying, actively, I want to come back together. It goes back to my earlier point. You come back and say, I want to be different. I don't want to be the dad that shouts and screams and calls you names and whatever it may be.
yeah,
I want to be better, so I want to try and I want to try and reset. And you set that whole kind of foundation. Hopefully, he was welcomed it. Even if he hasn't welcomed it, then what you can say to him is, look, I want to spend more time with you. And that's the key part. A father needs to spend time with a child. They have to spend one-to-one time with every
yeah,
single one of the children. So what you're going to say to your son is, look, I want to spend more one-to-one time, and that could be very easy. Say to your son, okay, especially if he's older, let's go out.
yeah,
Go out. Let's go out for a meal. Let's grab a dessert. Let's grab a milkshake.
yeah,
For a walk, whatever it may be, you just take them out. Yeah. And try and spend that time with them and make it a regular habitual thing. Because if you spend time and you and your child aren't on talking terms,
yeah,
I guarantee you it's worked. I've done it with other parents. Father and son, they just don't talk to each other. The
Yeah.
father said, look, I want to do things different. I want to reset. I want to go out with you. And said, okay, fine. So the father and son go out. They've gone out to a restaurant. They've sat there the whole entire time. They ordered the food. They ate. But guess what? They didn't speak to each other. Yeah, no words. This was awkward because it's like it's a bit of icy. How'd you talk? But the next week they did it again, and the next week they did it again. And then what happens is that ice, like I said, remember that mention that big piece of ice is thawing away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Essentially, you're creating the entry point to have a conversations. And the thing is, when you spend one-to-one time, it's not about telling off. It's about just being in each other's company. Because what's happened is when you've had a conflict, you don't like or you're not comfortable in each other's company. You have to rebuild to be comfortable in each other's company.
Yeah.
And when you're comfortable in each other's company, then you can start conversations. And then you talk about anything. Maybe
Yeah.
both you and your son, I don't know, are into football, example. Support the same football team. Start talking about football. Example, like find segues in. Talk about something that you can just have a conversation about.
But
Yeah.
see on that point that you just made. Okay, so is presence, is it a time bound thing? Is it an activity thing, or is it something to do with consistency? Like, so say for example, is it about the quantity of time I spend with my son, or is it the quality? And is it consistency, or is it activity based? What is
Yeah.
it like?
It's one is quality. It's always quality. Yeah.
Okay.
Quality of a quantity. You could and I explain the difference between quality and quantity here in a
Yeah, well,
second.
go on.
And the other one is also to do with consistency, making
Okay.
things consistent. It's important. The quality versus quantity is this. I sit down with my child and I
Mm.
play a game with him. Just say like a young boy, 7, 8 years old, he wants to play a game. I don't know. I play a game with him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or basically we're playing that game, and in that game I keep on doing this, and I put it down. I go
Okay.
back. I do this. Yeah. Now I
Yeah.
sit with him every single day, do the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Versus I sit with my son. I put my phone away. Eyes are on him. My ears are listening to him. We are conversing. Yeah. Now I do that every 2 days
Yeah.
or every 3 days.
Yeah.
The quality of the time I'm spending is far better than the quantity, because if that quantity is there but the quality is missing, then it has a different impact because your child
Yeah.
needs you present. Present. The
Yeah.
problem we're having is when we're talking about presence, I'm physically there, but my mind is somewhere else. There's messages coming in, the social media, the work calls, the this, the that,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
WhatsApp groups. All of those things are taking my attention away. And your child is growing up saying, Dad doesn't really care about me. He's more interested in his phone.
Mm.
And your child grows up, and guess what happens? He gets a phone. And then he gets a phone, and then next thing you know, you want to talk to him, and he don't want to talk to you. Because why?
Yeah.
His phone's buzzing, and he's more interested in that. Because
Yeah.
he's learned that behavior from you. That the value isn't in the communication and the time you spend as a family, the value is in the device. So the quality is the most important part. And so when a father is present, what I say is you put everything away. Give
Yeah.
that quality time, even if it's 5 minutes. But if you could do that and you say just with your child and you sit with him and you make eye contact and you listen, you actually listen, you ask him, I don't know, about school, you're listening, you're talking,
Mm.
you're playing. That quality is the most important part. Your child will remember that. Your child, the thing is I would say there's another phrase I use. Your child remembers your presence, not your presence,
Yeah.
i.e., the gift. Because we can buy our children gifts all the time. Because sometimes as a dad, you might say, I work, I earn, I show my love for the presents I give.
Yeah.
Give the gifts. But those gifts will come and go. But your child will never forget the memories.
Yeah.
You spent time with them. You did something with them. You spoke to them. I still remember my father had this conversation with me. I still remember when I was a child, my mum said these things. They stuck to me. They
Yeah.
stuck to me. I don't remember what they even got me. Some of you will. Sometimes they might be really grand presents and you can't forget that because it's
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
big. Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times they'll forget so many things because you won't remember that, but you remember the time. And that's the most important bit. The presence is the most important bit. Nothing can ever replace a father being there, the time you spend with them, because a child yearns for that. And if you look at it, as a child always yearns and looks for the parents' approval, love, affection, all of those things, even when you grow up as an adult. Now, if I look at yourself, even me as an adult, if my mum comes to me and says, I'm proud of you, my son,
Yeah.
it makes you feel something. It makes you like, feel happy. Like if your parent comes to you and says that,
Acknowledge,
it's
isn't it? Yeah. Yeah.
a feeling. It never goes, whether you're a child or you're an adult,
Yeah.
because that's the relationship always exists to the parents. That you yearn for your parents' attention,
Yeah.
for their love, for their approval. This is a human kind of thing that we have. So your child will need it even more. Imagine that. As adults, we might rationalize and say, okay, my dad's like that, my mom's like that. Okay, no, they show their love in an abstract way. We might get that in our minds and console ourselves. But as a child, they see that, they feel it, they need to see that. That's why the love has to be expressed in all the different ways. And we see that again. I always go back to the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He would sit there. There's a hadith where he was sitting there, he's kissing his grandchild. And one of the companions walked past and he says, I have 10, I think, grandchildren, and I've never kissed one of them. Saying it almost boastfully.
Yeah.
Because what can I do if Allah doesn't put mercy in your heart? Because I have children and I kiss them, I hug them, I do all those things. You see the example. So that means we have to follow those examples. They're there. So where did we learn this masculinity from? Of what a man is? Like, oh, I'm a dad, and so therefore we don't show this. We're quite just a disciplinarian. No. The Prophet was the best of men.
Yeah.
When I talk about Rijal, the real man, the strength. He was Prophet ﷺ. But he loved, he showed emotion, he cried,
Yeah.
hugged, all of these things. So he carried his child. He delayed his salah in sujood because his grandchild was on his neck. And they were in sujood for so long, the Sahaba got up and thought, what happened? And he saw the child, his grandson on his neck. And after salah, they asked him, why did you delay your salah for longer? He said, because my child, like his grandchild, was on my neck and he was playing. And I wanted him to finish what he was doing, like get his full. Then I got up. He even elongated his sujood in jama'ah because the child was playing on his neck.
Yeah.
That is the mercy. That's the presence of a father.
Right. See, okay. So, all right. In addition to what you've just said, say, for example, we're living in a time where now we're at competition with the devices and the presence of a father. So, at one click of a button, a little swipe, I've got instant dopamine effect. I've got attention. I've got everything that I need at just that little singular moment. Now, what is the difference between a father's connection and this device? Why should I turn to my dad when I can have this at an instant? So what will make us profound where our sons could turn back to us compared to a device where they can take anywhere, anytime, any place is there? How because this is what we're competing with at the moment. How do we replace that where we now become the most significant thing in their life from a device?
So a lot of this is there's so many points in that question, but one of them is you need to delay giving your devices to your children. That's just always the first thing. Yeah, children shouldn't have phones. In my opinion, and my children haven't. Like, if you're under 16 years old, you shouldn't have a smartphone. None of my kids under 16 have had a smartphone. The first time they got a smartphone was once they were over 16, and so that becomes the first aspect. Don't bring that in. Secondly, is you should model the good behavior and engagement, the healthy engagement with a smartphone. That means when you've come home, if this is the time for the family, put your phone away. You should put it on silent and put it away. We used to have a basket to leave our phone in. That's how to do it. And we say, okay, these next few hours, they're for the family. Yeah. And obviously, if an emergency comes and a phone call comes, I can ring and see. I'm like, okay, that's not important. I'll deal with it afterwards, whatever. But put that aside. Your child then sees you value the communication, the time you spend. Because trust me, when you're children, you spend time with your children love it. So that's what happens when you're there. Fill that time, play games with them, sit with them, talk with them. There's an endless thing that you can do with your child that because the phones have taken all of us away, everybody comes on, they're just busy on their devices. And it's the bit of conversations. Now, for example, imagine your children do have devices. You're a bit too late in the game. They've already got it, you can't take it away. All right, cool. Maybe you sit around the dinner table. You all have dinner at the same time. No phones at the table. Very simple. No phones allowed at the table. Even you can't bring the phone to the table. Yeah? You sit around the table and you talk. You use that as an opportunity. You're eating, you can talk. You have to create those opportunities to engage and to talk. And the talking shouldn't be an interrogation. You can just start off and just share something. Just say, today something really funny happened at work. And you can go into it. Yeah. And they can laugh and they can say this, or you might say something really, really, whatever it may be, crack a joke. Have a conversation and encourage that ability to share and to talk. The other thing I add is one last one, which was spending that time with the child is really important. Like I'll give you an example of like a method that I do with my children. I try and give them everybody one-to-one time every day, those little moments. What I usually have is every Saturday evening, you set aside some time. And it's the one-to-one time. You could call it almost like a date night with dad, basically, So I got 6 kids. So each one rotates each week. So Saturday night, I have 3 hours. I say 3 hours in the evening. I've got 3 hours with dad. And I even give some money as well. So you got £30.
Yeah, yeah.
Nowadays, £30 won't buy you anything anymore. But anyway, yeah. But
You
I've
just
done this
pop
for
in.
years. Yeah, I've done it for years, over 10 years. Yeah. So £30. Yeah, 3 hours, £30. You can choose whatever you want to do with me.
Okay.
The child then goes off and they plan. And so obviously you rotate. So every 6 weeks they get this much more dedicated time with their child,
Yeah.
with their dad. So then what happens is they choose what they want to do. Okay, I want to go out and get dessert. Okay, cool. We go to dessert shop. We sit there. We eat. We do something. You want to go out for a walk, play a game. You might want to go out to play some football. You might want to go out to go bowling.
Yeah,
Likewise, and like my daughter, for example, they learned some ice skating in school. She goes, I want to go ice skating. So I said, okay, cool. Let's go ice skating. I ain't been ice skating ever before in my life.
yeah.
And the whole time I was holding onto the side like this, yeah, ice skating, and she's going around ice
Yeah,
skating.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
what we're doing is it's not to give instructions, it's just to create those memories, those moments. Kids love it, they enjoy it, they look forward to it. Every week, kid, oh, I'm looking forward, it's my time to go out and do something. And you're gonna see it because no matter how much of the phone you give them the dopamine, but when you start taking that away, you start giving more and more time and attention, that hits differently.
Okay.
That hits differently. You just have to give it. You have to create the opportunities and the moments for that time and that expression. And because we've taken that away and we've all consumed ourselves into our devices, then we've got all these. It goes back to the earlier point. It's individualism. Me, myself, and I in my device. And that's
Mike,
what's happening.
see, in addition to what you've just said, say, okay, there's a setting in an environment, and I've seen this even amongst my own friends. I've seen it in so many different types of social settings that I've seen. We are so far away from communication face to face. Put the phone down and just have like these natural conversations where you can be in a setting and everyone's got their phones. They're not talking like literally. I'm in front of you. There's my friend over there, over here, over
Mm.
there, and they're all sitting on their phones. And I'm like, okay, so hello, we are here physically. Why don't we talk instead of their phones? And it's gone to the point where it's actually happening inside homes where you've got the brothers, the sisters, the mum and the dad all on their phones. It's like as if this is the new way that we're just doing things. This is the new way that we're communicating. Um, so like say for example that I've just introduced communication face to face. All right, phones down, this that. It's not long until they're back on it again, and not just our children. It's us as well. It's because that instant dopamine effect, the attention, and everything. It's now become such a norm. It feels weird when you don't connect yourself to the phone, and it's abnormal for us to connect with each other. This is how far that we've gone. I mean, what's the best way to just to just tap back into something that was once upon a time natural, bro?
It will take the active effort, as I said
Yeah,
before. So one of the things that, for example, we have at home is we
yeah.
have what you call screen time and
Ah,
basically
yeah, yeah,
off time or non-screen time. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so we'll have that period and say, okay, right, you've got this window of time because you can't disconnect. Now,
yeah,
screens means they could be playing on the console as well. Like, I'm not talking about just the phones, whatever it may be. Like,
yeah,
not
yeah.
just screen. Yeah. So in that period, okay, these are the periods you can have screen time. But for example, on a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, yeah.
Mm,
So you've got 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock screen time. Yeah.
mm,
Then it's off. Everything's off. So then between that 12 and until basically 4 p.m., yeah, you've got a long period of now this is the time where there's engagement. You're talking. That
yeah,
means even for you as a parent, okay, say, look, you fill up that time and that void, and you can have, like for example, we've got endless board games. Sit,
yeah,
play board games, talk with one another, and even if your child is bored, so what? Because we
yeah.
live in
So
the era
yeah,
of instant gratification. That actually boredom is good for your child because why? They have to find a way to start getting rid of their boredom and be creative and find solutions. Go out and play. I
mm,
don't think I say like grab your bike, go and cycle, go.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Go. Do things because once upon a time that used to be us. It wasn't these devices and on demand and all of those kind of things. So you're trying to create that space for them that everybody is uniformed, whether it's mom or dad or whether it's the kids, that we're
yeah,
all off the devices, off the screens, and we give that time because we now value social interaction and
mm,
communication. Do things, read books. Kids can go and I don't know. You might want to do some baking, cooking, walking, whatever it may be.
yeah,
Okay, right,
yeah,
now's the time. I got some errands to do. Oh, come on with me. The kid comes with you. Does some errands with you.
yeah,
All of those things can be done. Then they go back on. Okay, 4 o'clock, 6 o'clock, a couple of times. Boom, then they're off. Then he's getting prepared. Then have dinner and all that stuff. So all of that is what you're doing is you're recreating the environment in the home to say all of us uniformly will put it away. It doesn't work if you're going to say kids off and you're still on.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah? Now, obviously, see how it works within your families. Create that time. And in first time, it might be too much. It's okay, right? We're going to try and create at least 1 2 hour window where we don't have devices. And
yeah,
we'll try and fill it in. And you could say, okay, now it's family game time. Yeah. and create a new culture, a new sunnah in your family to say, all right, every, I don't know, Saturday at 2 o'clock
Yeah.
until 4 o'clock, it's family board game time, as an example. And we get different board games out. We play a few different games. Kids remember that. And they'll remember that more than anything else, trust me, when they grow up later in life, because everyone remembers those moments. I remember those engagements with the family. So that's what you've got to try and do. So it takes active work to do that. We are fighting against it, but you have to actively do that because there are many issues. Like, one is protecting the family and the children, but you're also talking about lifelong skills because children are going to be growing up not knowing these social skills, how to talk to one another, how to show respect, how to share, how to, converse, and how to show your frustrations and how to, resolve conflict. Because what you're going to start seeing is when your kids are on the devices, the house is quiet.
Yeah,
When
yeah,
they're
yeah.
off the devices, there's lots of conflict. That's good. Let them have conflict because you have to learn how do you resolve the conflict then. Like, you can't, if you don't have opportunities to do that, and sometimes we as parents think, oh, it's too noisy, they're fighting, just go back on your devices.
Yeah.
Give me peace. But what we're doing is giving yourself peace now. What's happening in the long term for your children? What's happening in their development?
Yeah,
They're not
yeah.
learning anything. It's only going to get worse.
Bye. Okay, that's right. So before we go, I would like to ask you, what would one piece of advice you would give to those who are watching to be more present? What would that takeaway? What would your takeaway advice be, bro, to help someone to help a father stay more present?
I'll say it in a different way, which is a bit more, pretty hard hitting.
Yeah, yeah.
If your child can't talk to you, someone else will replace you.
Mm,
Yeah, very simple. And that's the key thing that should, if hopefully it hits you, that if my child can't talk to me, someone's going to replace me. I mean,
mm,
someone's going to replace you, that you should have been there as that father figure, the one that your child turns to, the one
mm,
that when there's any problem, they know I'm going to call dad. I'm going to go to him. He will know what to do. He will help me. He'll fix it.
yeah,
But if we've raised our children where they're going to say, something, when something goes wrong, they're like, they might say, damn, I can't tell dad. He's the
yeah, yeah.
last person I want to tell, or he's the last person I want to go to. Then that's when you realize that, to say it hardly, you failed as a dad. Like,
Yeah.
that is your role. That is your role. You are your child's guardian. You're your child's guide. You're the one who is his murabbi, the one that should be guiding him through all of this. And if your child can't come to you, then you failed. You failed in the basic thing that you should have been there for. And so, as a father, it becomes so important to be present. And when I say present, the biggest thing, advice is put your phone away, listen to your child, and listen to what they are actually saying. Because a lot of the times, there's a way of listening. We listen to respond.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Don't respond. Listen to understand. So that means empathy. Put yourself in your child's shoes. Try to understand, what are they telling me? Because sometimes a child tells you something, and this is a real extreme I'm going to.
Yeah, bro. Bro.
A child is telling you something, and you're not listening, and he says it again and again and again. And then what happens is later on, your child, and it's a real case
Yeah,
examples,
bro.
your child has killed yourself because you didn't listen to what he was actually saying.
Yeah,
Because right now there's a massive increase in issues related to mental health.
yeah,
Yeah? Real difficulties that young people are going through. They didn't exist in our time
yeah,
or wasn't as rife in our time. Now it is, and I'm seeing it endlessly. Because you know why? I dealt with a family where literally I sat down between the child, it's an adult child now, and the parents. And he said every day in school I was getting bullied and you didn't do nothing about it.
mm,
And then the parent says, you never told us. He goes, I told you every day I didn't want to go to school. So he was
mm,
telling you, I don't want to go to school. And you're saying, just go, just go. You're not listening. Why doesn't he want to go to school? Why? Delve into it. What's wrong, son? What's
yeah,
going on? Imagine a child telling you that every day, and then one day he ends up, and you're seeing cases of it where a child just, a young Muslim boy, not too long ago, you saw the news where he jumped off the bridge in, I think it was South London, and the schoolboy, I think it was 13 or 14-year old, he killed himself. Like, so
mm,
it's not far from our communities. So we're thinking, this might be a issue within other communities and
yeah,
other cultures. No, no, no. It is rife, and we're not listening to our children. If you're not listening, you'll regret it for the rest of your life because your child would say that my father's not the one that listens to me. That's why, I'm saying it in a really extreme way. Inshallah, Allah protect us and this doesn't happen to our
yeah,
children. But we need to be prepared for all eventualities and say, look, I want to be there for my child. I want to listen to them and understand what is it that they say. What does the words mean? Because sometimes we have to decipher their words. And if we're not listening, and I'm half listening because I'm looking at my phone, then I won't pick up on those cues that he's telling me.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
and then you
That's
can't then help.
amazing. Right, what I'm going to do is